ASAP Elite: achievement, success, and perseverance. Our next guest exemplifies what our show is all about. We are honored to bring to you Black excellence at its finest. Please allow us to introduce to you former NFL player and Tulsa Hall of Fame legend, Mr. Barry Mentor.
Thank you. I don't know all about that, but thank you.
Hey man, it's such an honor. I just want to thank you for agreeing to come on our show. And man, look forward to this interview and all of the advice and knowledge and wisdom that you can give to our audience.
Well, thank you. Hopefully I can drop some nuggets that they can take along and help them along their way to be successful.
Okay, yes, sir. Well, first off, can you do us the honor of introducing yourself to our audience by describing your upbringing and how you were introduced to football?
Well, I got introduced to football at a late age, I think, compared to today. Kids started playing today around 6, 7 years of age. When I was coming through, I was in a small town, Mount Pleasant, Texas. There were no summer football leagues. There were no camps. At that time, the University of Interscholastic League, which is the UIL, which runs high school athletics, was very stringent with what you could do. And you really couldn't play football until high school. So really, starting out, baseball was my first love. I started playing baseball at 6 and just really fell in love with that game. And I think it wasn't so much the game, but it was the ability to compete. I just love to compete. And that's really what football brought to me. It takes a whole new dynamic. Baseball, it's you and the pitcher. And then in the outfield, it's just you and the ball, the flight of the ball. Can you get to the ball? Can you get the throw over there before the runner gets there? But football takes a whole different dynamic. And I just love that aspect of competing and preparing. And when I got involved in it in junior high, and I started to move to high school, one of my high school counselors, who was a former coach, came to me and asked what I want to do with my life. And he thought I could possibly go to school with a scholarship playing football. And that just kind of got it going from that point on.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So now, like you said, that is definitely a late, I guess, if you will, late start for most people, especially who make it to the levels that you've been able to make it to. So what would you say, growing up, what kept you motivated?
What kept me motivated in sports, like I said, was just the idea to compete. A lot of things that you can do in sports, you can't do anywhere else. You can have a bad attitude and still be seen somewhat as successful or aggressive. You just can't do that anywhere. And then for me, I thought athletics was going to give me a way out, not so much far as the NFL, but at least the opportunity to go to college. And that really motivated me. Coming from a small town, low socioeconomic, my mom was a single parent. I knew education was going to be the key for me. And that's what she always told me was, you got to get an education. There's nothing out there for people who don't have an education. And I just thought that athletics was going to be that avenue for me to get an education. And sure enough, it was. I was blessed. And that really what kept me moving and going. She always told me, if you're going to do something, do it to your absolute best. And for that reason, I just always put everything I could into it. And it was fun.
Well, I definitely got to pull that nugget that's out there, because one of the things about it is, now we have a lot of athletes that are trying to jump to the NFL, trying to jump to the NBA, and one of the things you really talked about is getting that education, because the thing is not only did you get to play the sport that you love at a professional level, you were actually able to get your degree, because now you're using your degree in your life after football, right? So I mean, that's definitely a nugget that we want our audience to hear, because education, that's one of the things I remember my mom would always tell me, education is the one thing, folks, nobody can ever take from you.
Can never take from you.
Definitely.
I was coming up in the junior high. And what's funny about this, I was coming up in junior high when the idea was, should Herschel Walker leave early? And he was petitioning to leave early. And I thought that was the dumbest thing ever, to leave early. Go stay, get your education. But now I say it's not a bad thing to leave early, because if you really want your education, you can always go back and get the education. The deal is, you have to want the education, and you know that's going to be your lifeline after sports end. Sometimes young people don't think that sports will ever end, and they will. And when those sports end, what do you fall back on? You can only make it so long. I don't care how much money you make. You can only make it so long. Then you got to find something to do. You got to find something to maintain a lifestyle. And that's where the education definitely comes in, even if you're blessed to make it to the NFL. I did graduate from the University of Tulsa. I did that right after I had gotten drafted in April. While I was in Chicago, I continued to continue my education through the NFL, and I got my master's. I knew I always wanted to teach and coach. So in the off season, for about 4 years, I was going and getting my master's at DePaul University. So I knew when I stepped out of the football arena, I would step into the educational arena and coaching.
I took a similar path, and had to go back and pick up the pieces in order to get my degree also. But it's complete, and it definitely has benefited my family and myself, greatly.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, if you're not inherently wealthy, then that education is going to come in. If nothing else, get you a business degree and be able to make sure that you can maintain your own finances, because there are people or sharks out there that are just looking to take advantage of you. So if you're blessed to go out and make, and I didn't, but if you're blessed to go out and make multi-millions of dollars, like some of these athletes do today, everybody's got their hand in their money. And by the time you get finished 5-6 years out, you're almost broke, because everybody's been sticking their hand in your money. So at least get your business degree, get a finance degree. That way you can always keep track of what you got going on in your life. But for most of us, not saying that I'm special, I was blessed. Most of us don't get that opportunity, but you can always, always, always use that education.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely got to have something to fall back on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, this is a question that I wanted to ask primarily because of your background. Religion in sports is used in many ways, such as to cope with uncertainty, reaffirm motivation and courage, and establish unity and solidarity. How did religion and spirituality play a part during your illustrious career?
Actually, it was in my life from an early age. The first time I could really say I tied athletics and religion together was in junior high. In junior high, I was pole vaulting. And I told my grandmother, yes, I was a black pole vaulter. And my grandmother told me, I told her I was afraid. I said, this is something I like to do, but I'm kind of afraid of doing it. And she told me to pray about it. And she said, God is with you in anything and everything that you do. And so that's when the first time I started really putting religion and athletics together. I grew up in a religious home. I grew up and obeyed the gospel at the age of 12. Went to college on some Sundays when I could find a ride over. I'd go over to 23rd Street, over to, oh my goodness, I can't think of it.
Young.
Peoria, yes, Peoria and Young, to the Church of Christ over there. Because to me, that was who I was. I was a Christian even before I was an athlete.
That's right.
I took part in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, but I never defined myself as a Christian athlete. I defined myself as an athletic Christian, because if you go to English, you put the adjective in front of the noun.
Yes, sir.
So if you say you're an athletic, you're a Christian athlete, you're saying you're an athlete that is a Christian. I'm no longer an athlete, but I am still a Christian today. So I always changed that and told people I was an athletic Christian.
Yeah, that's definitely a spin. Because I was in Fellowship of Christian Athletes as well. And the things that I know for me as an athlete, it was, I guess, sometimes difficult as an athlete when you are a Christian, and I can definitely see how it could have been difficult for you as someone that played your sport at that level, at the level that you played it at, and still maintain your Christianity.
Here's what I can say about that. If you know who you want to be, it's not that hard. Everybody respected me for who I was. There would be parties. I was married when I got to the NFL. I got married my last semester of college. And when I would get invited to a party, they invited me and my wife. There would be some parties. There'd be some parties that I would not be invited to because they know me and my wife would not partake in those type of activities.
Right.
If you just know who you are and you let people know who you are, you may take a little flack for a little bit, but once you stand your ground and they see that you are truly who you say you are, they're going to respect you. And that's one thing I can tell young men: be who you are, because even though some people will be any way and every way, if you stay consistent, people will respect you for that consistency. And there would be several times that young men my age would come up to me who were married and say, "Can I talk to you about something?" They would tell me, "Well, I woke up last night and I opened the Bible and I started reading the Bible. Can you help me to understand what this is meaning?" They saw me as someone that they could go to because they knew I was going to stay consistent with my views, my values, and what I truly held dear, which was my Christianity.
And you said something in there that was really, really important, is about being yourself. Because I know that a lot of folks that are doing it to please the crowd, right? They're doing it to please the people that are following because they think they have this mystique that they have to keep up. And that's not who they really are. Because one thing that I've learned is that a lot of people who the person you see on TV, that's not how they are in person. That's not who they really are. That's how they are when they're playing football. That's how they are when they, when they're on camera, but that's not who they really are. And I believe that too often people feel like they have to hold up this facade that makes them either become someone that they really aren't, or just pushes them into a depression, if you will, because they can't be themselves.
And actually, it's even worse when you leave the game, and you will leave the game, because when the cameras are gone, the microphones are gone, and you're no longer T.O., or you're no longer the Flash or Hitman or whatever that persona you've taken on, then that's when the struggle comes in. That's when you're now fighting with yourself with, I'm no longer who I used to portray myself to be. It's just so much easier being you. I went to work. I actually took not a role, but when I left on Saturdays, I would tell people that I transformed into a killer. That's not my normal nature. I'm a mild-mannered fella. But when I would leave on Saturdays for NFL games, I didn't want to talk to my wife. I didn't want to talk to my kids. Really, I didn't want to talk to people from my church, because I had to transform my mind into going out literally trying to kill somebody out there on the football field. If not, you couldn't do your job, or I couldn't, because that wasn't my true nature. That is something different than going out portraying to be someone and everybody's calling your name and you're this person. But then who are you when you go home and you close the door? Who are you when you hang up the cleats, put up the helmet? Who are you then? You're no longer the hitman. You're no longer the whomever that you have portrayed yourself to be. And what you find is, like you said, depression. You find the idea of, where's my relevance anymore? So I would encourage all young people to know who you are and be who you are. And you can be that until God calls you home.
That's right. I like that. Definitely know who you are, be who you are, or be who you be. And I'm sorry, that was an inside joke.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling Coach.
I'll tell you, to add to that, there is nothing more refreshing than gaining a friendship with someone who has the light. I'm telling you, it's so inspirational. It's so inspirational. It pulls the best out of you. Thank you for being who you are, for being a person that those players with all those temptations can come to gain clarity.
Well, thank you. I struggled at one time when I first got to Chicago, not with me personally, but I was missing my worship service, and my minister was asking me to try to take somewhat of a lead role. And I told him I didn't think that was something I could do with much as I'd be missing. About half the year I wouldn't be there. And he said, I understand that. He said, but what you need to understand is for some of these young men that you're playing with, you will be the only Christ, you'll be the only Christianity that they will ever get to come in contact with. And so your ministry is out there working with these young people, letting them see the Christ in you. And so that really helped me. And I went on and took the position that he was asking me to take in church. And I took that role seriously. And I did find myself, as I said earlier, being that person who they could come to and talk to with family issues, children issues, and then just a lot of times personal issues.
Yeah, that being that go-to person. I mean, I think, and again, that comes to being who you are. Not trying to be so. And because that's easy to be seen. It's one of those things that the real person, like the real person on the team, everybody recognizes who that is. And the person that there's I'm sure that there were people on your team that you don't have to worry about anybody going up to him and say, man, I'm having a rough time and I just need to talk to you. There were certain people who that just wasn't going to happen with.
It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. And so it just, being that person, I can honestly say that it feels good to be that person that when folks know that, what, if I need somebody to pray for me, if I just need somebody to talk to that's not going to judge me,
that's right, then
I could go to Barry. And that means a lot. Every team needs it. Teams that don't have it, ew, rough. But
they struggle. They struggle.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm thankful that I can go to Hassan.
You got a good brother to go to then.
Oh yeah, without a question. All right, you had a career most professional players can only imagine. Over 100 games played, over 400 tackles, 11 and a half sacks, 7 forced fumbles. When did you know deep down inside that it was time to hang up the cleats?
Woo. After I hurt my back, it was my 8th year, and I thought I would soon get back to health and get back my spot. But they had just drafted a young fellow who could run and was the hope of the franchise, who was going to be Brian Urlacher. The other 2 guys that was playing, Sam and Will, at that time I was playing Mike, were both younger than me. They were making less money than me. And when I came back in week 9 of the season and I was healthy, from week 2 to week 9 being hurt, and they told me we're going to kind of keep rolling it as it was. I kind of knew then that my time in Chicago has ran its course. But I thought I would still go somewhere else to play. I thought maybe Detroit was an opportunity. They had spoke with me a little bit early in the offseason. I thought maybe Miami. Dave had actually traded for me from Dallas to Chicago. I was one of his first trades there in Chicago when he was the new head coach. He was in Miami. I thought maybe I'd go to Miami. I thought maybe Detroit. I talked a little bit to a couple of other teams. And then as the offseason progressed, the phone stopped ringing. And so by June, after I got released, nobody was calling. Nobody was talking to me. At that time, I still wanted to play. And my wife and I made a family decision to pack up from Chicago and move to Houston. We had just lost a young lady, had a daughter who had stayed with us for about 3 years. And she had lost that child to a drinking and driving accident. They got hit by a drunk driver. And my wife came home and stayed about 3 months with her to get her through nursing school, her last semester. And when she came back, she said she wanted to come back home. She had 2 grandmothers. One was in her 70s and one was in her 80s. And she said, I can't do this from such distance again with her grannies being that old. So we packed up and moved. And at that time, I stopped working out. I stopped lifting. I stopped doing things. And between June and August, basically we were in transition from Chicago to Houston. I moved here and closed on a house on a Friday. And then on that Sunday, my phone rang and it was Cleveland. And Cleveland called me and said, hey, would you come and work out? Once again, the disciples of Coach Jimmy Johnson was Butch Davis. And Butch Davis had just got the head job in Cleveland. And so I thought, okay, here's my opportunity to go back and play again. So I went up, worked out for them. I wasn't in great shape. And they said, hey, go home, do some running, do some things. If the last preseason game doesn't go well, we're going to give you a call. So sure enough, came back in, went to church that next Sunday and came out, had a phone call saying, hey, get up here. We need you. Want you back in here Monday morning. So I went back and thought this was my opportunity to get back in the starting lineup. And opening day, they had me on kickoff return, punt, and punt return. And that's kind of when I said at 31, oh boy, I think this is time for me to, I don't think this is what I want to do. We played the opener and we played Jacksonville in the opener. And then that Tuesday is when 9/11 happened. And the week after 9/11, I was actually released. And that's when I knew I was done. At that point in time, I had no desire to go back and play for anyone. I had been without my wife and kids for over a month. I was in a different city. I was not going to move them. And I was somewhat healthy. I still had some back issues, but I was somewhat healthy. And all I needed was one semester to finish my master's. And I made the decision I was going to finish that up in the spring and start teaching and coaching that next fall. And since then, I've never looked back or never regretted the decision.
Wow. The thing is the clarity that you had. I mean, honestly, it seems like throughout your sports career is amazing. And, I'm curious, what helped you to be so clear in your decisions?
Even when I was at the University of Tulsa, my junior year, I had an awesome junior year, great junior year. And really, one of the coaches, I can't remember who, one of the Cowboys coaches, either Butch Johnson or Davis or somebody said, I probably had one of the best seasons for an outside linebacker they had saw. And my coach came to me after the season, after the bowl game, literally right after the bowl game, and asked me, he said, are you coming back? And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting on the plane. I'm going back to Tulsa. Yeah. He was like, no. I said, are you coming back to Tulsa? And once again, I told him, yeah, I'm not trying to travel with my family home. I came with the team. He was like, no, you're not thinking about going to the NFL, are you? And I was like, no, I'm a junior. I'm not planning on leaving, going to the NFL. Even when I was in high school, my dream has always been to play it out, be the best you can be at what you're doing at that moment, at that time, and not too much concern yourself about the next step. If you're the best in that moment and you're the best in that season, if you're the best in that time and on that play, everything else will continue to work out. Because when you start focusing ahead or you start focusing behind, you're going to mess up then. And so I've just always kind of made those decisions in the moment. And when I made that decision, like I said, that I was done, because I wanted to play again. When I first got released, I wanted to play. But when I went back to Cleveland and I was on kickoff and kickoff return and I'm 31 years old, I was like, nah, I'm done. This is it.
And in Cleveland.
In Cleveland, I said, coming out that tunnel one more time. That's all I needed. And I've never had the desire to go back. Now people say, could you play one play? I right now I couldn't play but one play. Okay. And after that one play, y'all better cart me off and give me some oxygen.
That's good stuff. Yeah, it's that. I mean, I think that's one of the things that defines you is the fact, clear decisions. The thing is it looks like also because you mentioned about missing your family, right? And missing your kids. You know, um, I hate to say it, but I know players in the NFL that shoot they that's what they look forward to,
Yep.
you know, and so
Yeah.
that's you know just it speaks to the character of who you are.
Yeah, you get used to coming home and, Daddy, what you doing with that ice on your knee? Daddy, what's doing with that ice? What you doing with that Band-Aid, Daddy? You know, and then they want to hang on you. And coming to an empty apartment just wasn't satisfying anymore, you know? So yeah, it was pretty simple, pretty clear cut. And like I said before, I knew education was where I was headed. I knew education and teaching was where I wanted to go. And so it was just an easy transition into it for me. And like I said, I'd already had started my master's, and all I needed was one more semester. So it was plans were already the game plan was already in place. Just transition over from chunking it to running it slow now.
Right.
Good stuff.
Well, Mr. Mentor, our game, the best game on earth, game of football, is a direct reflection of how you live your life. How did football prepare you for life after the game?
Ooh, studying, preparing each week for your opponent. My mom always told me, if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. And taking that approach into football practice, film watching, then that prepares you for the difficult times of marriage. Sometimes, you know, marriage is a struggle. I'm 28 years into marriage. Sometimes your players, your linemen will get hooked to reach, or they'll let the double team slip off on you. That's like your kids actually, you know, not doing what you ask them to do. So it prepares you for the ups, the downs. It teaches you how to be accountable. I played with one defensive lineman, and I loved him. He was probably one of the best I played with, named Mike Wells. He was out of Iowa. And Mike would do a great job of holding the double team. And he would hold the double team, and I'd get a bad read or something, and he'd come back to the huddle and say, "Hey, what happened right there?" I said, "Man, I got a bad read, or, you know, I took a false step and this happened." He said, "Okay, I just wanted to know." He said, "Because I had the double team." He said, "I had the double team." So it makes you accountable for your actions. It makes you, you understand that you can't do it by yourself. I don't care what kind of player you are. If the Super Bowl this year, Tom Brady didn't throw to himself. You know, when you look at it, Tom Brady didn't play an ounce of defense, not a down of defense. So it helps you to do your job, but yeah, it still makes you see that you're also dependent upon others to help you be successful.
That's right. That's how I use it also in my life. You know, when it comes down to my family and everything that I do and that I commit to. You know, so
I heard somebody once say it's the process, and the process is all week of, you know, each week each day of the week, you're preparing for something. You know, Wednesday was rundown, first down, rundown. Thursday, that was your big pass down, third down. Friday, you're looking at trick plays and short yardage. Saturday, you're brushing up on everything and you're really looking at special teams. And then Saturday, you're getting on the plane, traveling out, and, you know, rehearsing that once again and going out and playing. And that's kind of how it is. You know, Monday's a work week, Monday through Friday. You plan your weekend. It, like you're saying, it's the process. It's the process of getting yourself prepared. It's the process of going from 20, 21, 22, 23 to being able to retire one day. You know, a lot of us as Black men, we never think of retirement. The day I got into football, I was already thinking about, what am I going to try to have when I leave here? You know, what am I going to try to have at the end of this season? What am I going to try to have at the end of my career? So to me, like you're saying, how I saw what you were saying, it's the process. Football is a process, and life is a process, and it helps you prepare and live in the moment to be ready for future moments.
Yeah, and I want to pull something out of that what you just said and what you said at the beginning. One, you talked about football was your way out, right? Growing, from where you grew up, the humble beginnings, and then now you get to the NFL. What happens is a lot of people who grew up in the same type of environment that you grew up in, they get to the NFL and go nuts. The last thing they're thinking about is retirement and making sure that, what am I going to have when I leave this game? And I think that forward thinking, right? Yes, you're definitely focusing on the down that you're on, but the thing is that you understand that, okay, when this is gonna be over at some time. This dance is the dance doesn't last all night, and so I think that athletes that are watching this, one of the things they have to understand is no matter where you come from, you leave the game with something. Go in with that mentality. If you do, one of the things you're going to do is like you were talking about, everybody having their hand. You're going to make better decisions, and with who's touching your money, and but you're also going to make better decisions and what you're doing. And I know that that's one of the things about it is, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people who were there who made a whole lot more money than you did when you were playing. But the thing is they have a whole lot less than you have now, or they're doing a whole lot. They it's almost like they never played in the NFL and never made any money because they're not able to live off the money, what they have now. And so I think that having that mindset and you saying that was a big thing, because like I said, you talked about where you came from, but going into the NFL with that mindset, what am I gonna have when this is all over with? That's a big thing.
I think that just came from my upbringing with my mom. You're always looking. She always told us, me and my sister, she always told us, I want you to have a better life than I had. I want you to do more than what I did. And I felt that same way for my kids. Me and my wife started early with a family. Wouldn't encourage anybody to do that the way we did, but it worked out for us. Now we're empty nesters. Even though I'm gray, I still consider myself fairly young, and all my kids are out. But it's like you're saying, I think my mom just always taught me to not so much look for you, but look for those that come along with you. Look out for your sister, look out for your wife, look out for your kids. Make it better, not just for you, but make it better for them. And for me, coming into the NFL with young kids, 2 young kids, it was that thing of, I got to prepare an education for them. I got to prepare a house, solidify a home for us. I have to, these were the things that I was always looking for. And maybe it's because I had that already built into my life with being married, coming to the NFL. But I think everyone, as you said, should look for, what is it that you want from it? Is it the fame, or is it a stable life, a beginning to a stable life? That's what, when I was in Dallas, right before I got before I got traded, I hadn't played like 4 or 5 plays, mop-up plays at the end of the game in 4 preseason games. And Dallas had 5 preseason games that year. We played in London, overseas. So we had the 5 preseason games. And I played maybe, like I said, 4 plays. And Sunday night, I had walked up. There's a hill. We were at St. Edward's College. And there was a hill that overlooks the city. And going back to my religion, I prayed to God. I was like, God, I got a wife. I got 2 kids. I'm not playing. Cuts about to start happening. Just give me the opportunity to make it better for my family. That was on a Sunday night. Tuesday morning, I got traded. And all I've ever tried to do each season was, God, give me the opportunity to make it better for someone else. And I think if we take that approach in life, just as in athletics, if I can do my job, it makes it easier for someone else to be successful. And if we all take that approach as a team, we're going to be successful. I talk about some of these football teams today because you can see some actors and some characters on the team that are all self-driven. They're not team-driven. And when I left, one thing about Tulsa, when I was at Tulsa, in that what was it, 92 Freedom Bowl team? Was it 92 or
93, I thought.
90, whichever Freedom Bowl team it was. It was a different group of guys. I mean, it was a different group. We grew up during that season, and we didn't play for ourselves. We played for one another. And that was a miraculous season. We had some good athletes. TJ Rubley. We had, oh my goodness. Oh, Chris Penn. We had Ron Jackson, the running back. We had Chris Hewley, a running back.
Gus Farrat was there, wasn't he?
Gus was the punter that year.
Really?
Gus was the punter. He was the punter and the backup quarterback. He was the quarterback his junior year, my senior year. But the chemistry clicked after we lost to Kansas. We came back and we beat Texas A&M. Then we played Miami. And after we played Miami and lost, we said, we're not losing anymore. We're not losing. And when we got to LA and played San Diego State and had Marshall Faulk, had the leading rusher in the nation, defensively, we gave up some yards, but we did a pretty good job of keeping them out of the end zone. It was just, we played for one another. We played for Tulsa. We didn't play for ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that young people need to understand. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Play for your team. Play for your school. Play for your city. You know, you'll get the reward. People will see you. You'll get yours if you are doing it more so for others.
What advice would the 2021 Barry mentor give to the 23-year-old Barry mentor?
The 2021? Oh, okay.
And this is shocking. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. It doesn't, and I knew it, but enjoy the moment because it doesn't last forever. As hard as you work, you can still work a little harder. You can still work a little longer. Maybe maybe instead of 8 years in Chicago, maybe you'd have made 9, you know, maybe you'd have, I think that's what I would tell myself. Just know, because that's what I expect out of my kids. When you've given all you think you've got, give a little more. And enjoy the moment. You know, you think you're having a good time, make sure that you're having a good time. Enjoy the moment. Doesn't last forever, but when it's work and you're needing to work, get it done. That's what I would tell myself.
That's good stuff. And those are good words that I've seen put to action. So I can stand by that. This is the Fritz Pollard question of the day. When you look at the current landscape of the NFL, right, and we talk about the fact that 70 to 80% of the players in the NFL are African American, but we don't quite see the same thing in the front office or on the sidelines. What give us your input on that and how you see the game going?
I think it's a tragedy that Eric Bieniemy has not received a head coaching opportunity. Obviously, he's doing a wonderful job there with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and that offense in Kansas City. I think we're making strides. It's kind of like when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. It was a stride, but it wasn't yet the finish line. We see more Black head coaches, but yet no Black ownership. We see 1 or 2 Black GMs here and there, but we still see the majority, as you said, being white. It is hard. We have very few, not very few, we have quite a few capable men for these positions. I was happy to see the Texans hire a Black coach. I just wish it would have been Eric Bieniemy, me personally. But I think we can't grow weary. I think we can't get confused. We still have a job to do as far as players, coaches, GMs. We still have a job to do. We can't just say we're going to boycott everything, because when you boycott things, what you're doing is you're walking away from it.
Mhm.
And you can't walk away from it because when you walk away from it, when or how do you get the opportunities back? We have to be very strategic, and we have to be able to take positions in places when the opportunity is there. But I think what we ought to do is just make sure that we're properly prepared as coaches, GMs, that we're properly prepared, that when the opportunity comes. I think about Doug Williams, one of the first Black quarterbacks, won the Super Bowl. If he wasn't properly prepared, what would he have done to Lamar Jackson? What would he have done to Deshaun Watson? What would have happened to Randall Cunningham if he would have just been a flop? Just went in there and just was a bust. So those who want the position, prepare themselves, be ready to go. So when the opportunity comes, that we can show the world and we can show all of the NFL as well as all of the major professional sports that we're capable, willing, ready, and able to get the job done.
Hey, that was an excellent response.
Amen.
Definitely. Well, hey, Mr. Mentor, we want to thank you for joining our show today and presenting our audience everything that they can ask for. Thank you for being a part of the ASAP Elite family, and we look forward to having you again if you would allow us.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. And what you guys are doing for young athletes, young Black athletes, is awesome. At one time, these avenues weren't there, and we had to learn and find out the hard way. So thank you guys for all your efforts and all that you do.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
God bless you guys.
Great show, man.
Great show, Haas.
Great show.
Great show, Professor Haas. I mean, goodness. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know what to expect. I just knew he was such a great guy. You know, and all his everything about him, his reputation, you know, and just to experience it firsthand and to speak with him and pick his brain, you know, it like I say, it was such an honor to have him on the show, man.
Absolutely.
Like I say, the wisdom and experience that he blessed us with in order for us to pass down to our audience was one of a kind. Oh man, amazing.
You know, and it was funny because he, you know, usually I do all the pulling the nuggets out, and look, he was pulling some out himself, and so it was just, you know, the thing is I think you said it at the beginning of the show that, you know, he personifies the type of former athlete that we want to be on this show to help our viewers create that blueprint.
That's
Because I mean, there's a lot of nuggets that our audience is going to get from this particular show. There's a lot of nuggets that I get from the show. Now, I will tell you, I knew he was going to be fire. Yeah, I mean, the thing is just, you know, just the knowing the man behind the man behind the athlete, knew he was going to be fire. I couldn't wait for it. I was excited about it. So,
hey, and he still looks like he can play today.
I'm telling, he does. You see him in person.
As terrible as the Bears defense is, man, they need to slide him right in there, give him a 10-day contract.
You say you can always get him in on one down. Look, he said he could do a down, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you, Haas. This has been another great episode, man.
Yeah, Coach, I have to say I thank you. So, you know, this is definitely, I thank you, Coach, because this is definitely an honor to host a show like this with somebody that I highly respect, and that is so on point with not only just the questioning and you know, just, you know, helping to bring out the conversation the way that you do. And so, man, I salute to you.
Thank you, brother. Look forward to the shows coming. All right, man. That's about it. Thank you for joining us tonight. Look forward to seeing you next week.
That's right.